Being triggered. I have been working on my triggers for the last couple of years. And I have a really good friend who has really trained me when she's spotting what's triggering me to say, hey, you're being triggered. You're being triggered. And when she said it enough, I finally heard it. And then I was like, oh. Hello there. It's Blake Cahoon of the Angelic Path. And today we're going to be talking about triggers. Okay, so it is the holiday season. And I don't know about you, but there are times when I do get triggered. And we want to ask you right off the bat, what triggers you? And I am looking at some notes here, so because I did write some things down finally. What triggers you? Politics? Perhaps it's your spouse being messy or not picking up after themselves, which is being messy. Your boss bringing you grief. That includes colleagues that do the same. Traffic. It's a lovely thing to sit in traffic. And of course, the holidays, because there's so many things going on during the holidays. Even if you don't celebrate, the energy in the air can be chaotic. And what happens is you're either full of joy or wonder at this time of the year, or you're like a bah humbug. And I know for me, while I'm not particularly religious, and I love celebrating Christmas, frankly, because of the decorations and my meaning behind it, which is bringing light and love into the world, which is what the Christians would attribute to Jesus Christ. So, and people are nicer. A lot of times people are nicer this time of year. So, but then there's those times that you get triggered. And now for me, being triggered, I have been working on my triggers for the last couple of years. And I have a really good friend who has really trained me when she's spotting what's triggering me to say, hey, you're being triggered. You're being triggered. And when she said it enough, I finally heard it. And then I was like, oh, I am being triggered. Why am I being triggered? And what am I going to do about this? Because my attitude at the time when I'm triggered, which is usually other people's, is to go into a rant. And get angry and negative and very emotional about the subject. And some subject we need to be emotional about. But when we continually going overboard on certain things, like politics, I mean, that is a big trigger for a lot of people, especially if you're not purple, but you're red or you're blue, because you're not seeing the other person's point of view and where they're coming from. And even if they voice it to you, you're in such a different space that you're triggered by their words. I mean, that kind of happened to me just the other day. And there's a couple things that really, really trigger me. And that's people being unkind to others and just deliberately mean and nasty. Especially animals. Oh my God, if you hurt an animal or a child, I will go full force, angry, ranting, raving, whatever on you, you know what. So that really triggers me. Politics. And like I said, I was watching something the other day. It was a commercial on television, and I'm always getting triggered by this particular, I don't even remember the commercial anymore. But every time I see it, I'm like, argh! And I suddenly realized the other day, I was like, I watched it, and I went, oh, I used to be triggered by this, and now I'm not. So yay me. And how did I get to that position? And how can you work on your triggers? Because, you don't need all that crap. You don't need all that negative energy. Sometimes it just isn't pretty. Now, like I said, There are times we're not talking about holding in your emotions, but it's the time when you're triggered over something that you've been triggered over and over and over and over again. And as they say, the fastest thing to insanity is doing something over and over and over again and expecting the same results. So if you're triggered by like your spouse being messy and you've had the conversation over and over and over again, you might realize that your spouse or loved one is just the way they are. And maybe it's just time for them to be the way they are. Now, if they've got serious issues around that, it might need some intervention. But one of the things that I want to talk about is how to deal with some of these triggers. What you can do to recognize the situation, which is, for our first item, is self-awareness. And try to do something about these triggers and how to rein some of this stuff in so that you don't get so upset. Because, watching that commercial the other day and then suddenly realize I wasn't triggered, wow, that brought me so much relief and joy. And I was like, oh, I'm in a different space. I'm in a different headspace, and yay. So the first one is self-awareness. And like I said, I had this friend who I still have her. She's one of my besties. And so she would go, and she would, to the point of I was being triggered by her telling me I was being triggered. But she kept doing it. She kind of nagged me, but she did it out of love. And so what happened was she kept pointing out, all right, you're being triggered, you're being triggered. Sometimes it was not quite fair for her to point it out. Sometimes I was like, oh, I am? Okay. So self-awareness. It's really good to have a good friend that you respect and isn't going to cut you down to, go, hello. The other thing would be quiet time. In order to get to self-awareness, sometimes we just need to slow everything down and just allow ourselves some quiet time. Now, you can have quiet time by, doing something nice like, painting or a puzzle. You could actually just sit there and watch television, mindless television. You could be reading a book. These are all quiet activities, and it helps you to get into a better space and quiet yourself down. The next one would be and of course, when you do quiet time, you can move into the realm of meditation. We're not going to get quite into that here, but of course you can meditate and allow, that is also a quiet time activity. Yoga often is, other reflections, watching, some videos with animals or nature, getting out into nature, walking in nature. Those are all quiet time activities. So then you want to tune in. So now you're quiet and you realize that 4 hours ago, whatever time, just a few minutes ago, oh, you were triggered by something. Well, why? And what can you do about it? For me, politics does it. And so what I've learned to do, I'm very selective what I watch and what I don't watch, and I don't watch it very often. So I'm not like an ostrich with their head in the sand. But I am aware when I start looking at something that is unpleasing to me and is starting that trigger mechanism, is like, oh, it's time for me to shut this down, shut this off. So that's what I do, is I tune in and I take action. Now, the other thing you can do is when you're in your quiet time, the team actually helped me write these items up, is show gratitude. Okay, so you got triggered. Okay, let's get into your quiet time. Let's get into self-awareness. Okay, you got triggered because XYZ keeps doing this thing and it's really bugging you, and you want to lose your mind, and you don't really understand where they're coming from. All you're thinking is they're inconsiderate, they're lazy, or what have you. Or, somebody's doing something over here, usually on television, that you're like, okay, if I see one more, or, a spouse is watching it, or a loved one is watching that, and you're walk away, walk away. But what they want to do is tell you, get into your quiet time and show gratitude for your quiet time and for allowing yourself to recognize what triggers you and be grateful for everything that you do have right now. Shut out the rest of the world and show gratitude to yourself and be good to yourself. Okay? One of the other things they want you to do is decide to be nice. So for me, when I go on a rant because I was triggered by something, I turn into a monster. I really, really do. And my loved ones are like, oh my God. I have a very long, long fuse, but when it gets used up, I go ballistic. Now, I recognize that there are certain actions that certain family members do that bug me. And for the longest time, I let them do it and do it and do it and didn't say anything. I didn't say anything. And that was the problem, because when I blew up, they didn't understand why I was blowing up. And I realized, okay, probably not the best way to handle this situation. Now, mind you, it took years for me to reach this conclusion and to come to the self-awareness. But now I'm tuned in enough that for the most part, when something triggers my psyche with a loved one, I pause. I pause and decide, okay, I can take the low road and go nuts, or I could go the high road and be nice about the situation. But the other thing is I'm nice to myself, because now I speak up. I speak up and communicate. And I don't do it in a fierce, complaining way. I explain myself using a lot of I feel this and I feel that, as opposed to, well, you do this and you do that, so stop, don't blame them for whatever they're doing. When you don't pick up after yourself, I feel triggered and I don't understand what is taking you. Now, see, that's you. See, it's hard. It's really hard. I like a clean house. And I know that you don't appear to. Don't assume about what they want. They might. It's just that they may be preoccupied, too lazy, what have you, too tired. They don't feel like getting up. They're going to do it soon, but it's not on your timetable. All these type of things. Just be nice to the situation. Be self-aware in what you're doing and what they're doing, and have a good, non-combative, blaming conversation. Communication is key with any relationship. Okay, so decide to be nice. Catch yourself. And of course, we've talked about that self-awareness. Catch yourself when you're going into a rant or you're being triggered. And of course, this is self-realization. So when you realize the situation's going on, then you can pivot or change directions and go, I got triggered by that. Oh, okay, what am I going to do about it? And stop. Just stop your actions. Think about, is this really worth getting angry about? Maybe I can do something different in this situation. And if somebody's driving you so nutty, you may want to seek out outside counseling so that you guys can get on the same page. And that's for like relationships that you can't get out of, like, marriage and parents and things like that. Now, if your boss continues to bring grief, then, and you're finding you don't like the job anymore, find a new job. Get your resume. Always have a good resume available to you. And the team, and then if it's traffic, well, just realize traffic is going to be traffic. And either you need to go earlier or later. That's how I dealt with Chicago traffic when I lived in Chicago. I just stayed late and then I missed the traffic. And was it inconvenient? Well, it was more inconvenient to sit in traffic and it was triggering me. So, and I found that because I'm sitting in traffic and I'm sitting there and sitting there and sitting there, I left 10 minutes later, and guess what? Traffic was moving, and I got home even faster and without all of those headaches. As far as politics go, turn off the television and the news and all that. And as far as your colleagues, realize that everybody's dealing with their own stuff. Dealing with it, and I've done other videos, and I've already discussed how Master Y deals with this kind of stuff. And basically, they're like, bless them because they're going through crap, and you don't know what they're going through, and you're probably going through stuff too. I mean, we all are. So be more understanding of the situation. And the team wants to wrap this one up with prioritize like, not hate. Prioritize like, not hate. So I thought that was very interesting. They wanted to make sure that it came from them, not that not all of this stuff did, but prioritize like. Again, I think this goes to be nice. If you're finding that you're too negative, you might want to clean that up and allow yourself to like the situation more as opposed to hating the situation. And if you're triggered and you're going, I hate this situation, okay, you're holding hate in your heart, you're holding negative, and law of attraction is going to just keep bringing you more of the same because the universe is a yes universe. So meaning that if you like it, it's going to keep bringing you more. If you don't like it, it's going to keep bringing you more. So no matter where you stand, if you want to create your future and manifest your life that you want, then realize that the law of attraction is in play, whether you like it or not, whether you believe in it or not, but allow yourself to like things and go for things that you like. And the things that you don't like in your life, begin getting rid of. If you don't like a messy house, you might want to start cleaning it. If you can't personally clean it, get somebody who can. There are social services out there that can help you with some of this stuff. If you're just, you're dirt poor. If you're mega rich, then, or you have money, hire somebody else to do it. For me, I have a very understanding person in my life who helps me with these things. So, and it's helped. I'm not perfect. I am not Martha Stewart by any stretch of the imagination. But that's par for the course too in relationships. Prioritize like, not hates. And of course, this is the season to allow the joy and the light and the love to spread throughout your life, among the circumstances of your life. And yeah, stuff is happening. Allow yourself to really be at peace with who and what you are and where you are, and have patience with yourself. Be kind to others, be nice to others, be nice to yourself, be kind to yourself. And remember to smile. Remember to smile. They're telling me right now, remember to smile and laugh. Laughter is really the best medicine. This has been a fantastic year, full of its ups and downs for me. I've had a tough year. My family has had a tough year, but I'm still here. And so I want to say thank you so much for showing up for this. And remember, self-awareness, quiet time, tune in, show gratitude, decide to be nice, catch yourself, and pivot, change directions where needed, and prioritize likes, not hates. Here's to a better tomorrow where you are not triggered by things that you can control. and some things you can't. Thank you so much. Many blessings. Until next time, bye now.